especially for those who were marginalized in the society. So, this was his stance for all times. The prophet has 6 daughters. And he didn't bury any of them. When it was the Arab habit to bury all their girls alive simply because they were girls, for no other reason except that they were girls. And those in the society criticized Muhammad because he didn't have any sons. They called him the one that's cut off. You're cut off. Okay, because they didn't value daughters, they only valued sons. Right? Here's this decent, honest, beautiful human being who comes telling people, look, stop burying baby girls alive. If I was to ask you in the crowd right now, how many of y'all think burying baby girls alive are okay? How many of y'all would think it was okay? By a show, raise your hand if you think it's okay. So here he comes. There's nothing objectionable to this statement. Stop burying baby girls alive. Right? Then he says, okay, well, there's a life after this life, and you'll be accountable for what you do in this life. We can all accept that, right? But then he also says, stop worshiping those things that we're making up with our own hands. And that there's direct guidance from God. And just like God sent laws to the Jews, and God sent laws to the Christian, God is sending laws to us through me. And he was calling them away from a way of life that was deplorable to a way of life that was good. But those in the society who would be negatively affected by what he was doing, they stood up against him. Because idolatry was a religion, but idolatry was also a business. And if I was into idolatry and I was selling idols, and you come preaching, stop manufacturing and selling idols, then what you're preaching is problematic because it's interfering with my economic situation. Okay? And if I'm benefiting from having slaves, and Muhammad comes and says, okay, well, treat your slave like yourself, feed your slave what you eat, dress your slave how you dress, okay? Then he's causing me problems in my slave ownership, because now I can't treat the slave back. And he even says, if you ask your slave to do something that's too much for him to do, then you should help him. Right? So this is creating problems. Right? And then giving women rights and other things like this. So he was only calling for good things, but since it was upsetting the balance of those who was benefiting from the corruption in the society, they began to speak out against him. They called him mad, they called him possessed, they called him a practicer of witchcraft, okay? And this was affecting the prophet, because he was a human being like you and I. He was affected by everything that was being said of him. When you study very early in his life, he went to Waraka, the Christian, after he received his first revelation. And he asked Waraka, his wife Khadijah took him to Waraka, the Christian, to find out what was going on. And Waraka said, you are a messenger to the Arab people. He said, I wish I was to be alive so I could support you when your people turn against you. He was like, well, my people will turn against me. He said, no, people have come with a mission like yours, and their people didn't turn against them. So if people turned against the beautiful Muhammad the Prophet, peace be upon him, and he faced criticism, he faced brutality, he faced violence. When you study his history, they tried to kill him. God comes to strengthen him. And he says, and by the pen and that which is recorded. In other words, what is evident in human reality is evident, and it's something that's been known to be good for all time for man. Slavery has never been good for man. Bearing baby girls alive has never been good for man. Worshipping more than one God has never been good for man. You are not possessed, nor are you mad. Now, he didn't have to tell the prophet this. He was letting everyone else know. It says, and you'll get a reward that's unfailing, and certainly you are upon the most exalted standard of character. As Muslims, we have to remember that. Our community, historically, was known for good. It's our historic record to be known to clean up neighborhoods. It's our historic record to be known to get people off of drugs. It's our historic record to be known to get people off of alcohol. It's our historic record to be known to get people from being pimps and prostitutes and all these things. That is the record that we had, a very clean record. Now I know toward the end the record got soiled because certain influences came into the nation that wasn't interested in religion, as the Imam said. They were interested in image. They were not interested in religion. He said those original people who came in, they were interested in substance and not interested in image. And those later who came in, they were interested in image. But that has been the legacy for our community. And we framed the conversation. We did. We framed the conversation for Islam in America. And then when Imam Muhammad came in, he changed the whole dialogue, right? Because certain people was benefiting at that time for Islam being presented as a black religion because it would make sure people wouldn't look at it universally. But Imam Muhammad came in and he changed the dialogue, he changed the conversation and made it universal. Then he changed the dialogue and made it okay for you to be an American, okay for you to accept and uplift the Constitution of the United States of America, okay for you to vote as an American citizen, okay for you to do everything necessary for your life to exist as an upright citizen, American citizen. Then we had people who eventually, we had a whole association here called the Muslims Veteran Association. When you study our record is impeccable. So of course those who want to come out against Islam, they're not going to include us in the conversation. How can we include you in the conversation and your record is not what we want out in the society? We don't want everyone to know it's okay to be an American and be a Muslim. It's okay to be an American and pay taxes as a Muslim. It's okay to hold office as a Muslim because then we will influence the society for good. We will influence the society. How will it be if you get so many people accepting our religion, they sit down the gambling, they sit down the state lottery, they sit down the alcohol, they sit down drugs, they sit down pornography, they sit down prostitution because of our influence for good. So since people were seeing this movement, this influence for good, we have to present an ugly picture of Islam. And if we can present an ugly picture of Islam, we'll make sure that whatever minds are perceptive to it will turn away from it, not based on the merits of it itself, but based on the image we put out in the world. So then there's a debate started on Sharia. You know, I asked him in Marvin what time I was supposed to finish. And he said, go ahead, but I don't think he meant that. So you know you have to give me a cutoff time. It's 6:47, so you need to give me a cutoff time. I'm a nutritionist. And I hear a lot of people make comments on nutrition. And they're good comments. But not seeing the whole picture. I hope you understand what I mean. Yeah. We can all go read a book on nutrition, make a very good comment on nutrition, but not see the whole picture. Okay. So now you have people commenting on Sharia, and their perception of what Sharia is not what God intended the term Sharia to be used for. In chapter 5 of the Quran, right in the 40s, Allah says, to every people we have sent Shara'a wa minhaj, a way and a methodology. And this comes after a line of verses where he speaks about the Jews and the law that was sent to Moses, the Christians,